The future belongs to those who dare, those who will do extra. Hi, I'm Mark Croskery. Happy New Year and welcome to the first episode in 2022 of Business Live Extra, the program that looks beyond dollars and cents to the movers and shakers in the business and the capital markets. Striking the right balance between being a family man and running his company is a 24/7 challenge that today's guest is dedicated to and excels at since inception. He lives by the mantra in business, as in life, you come down a ladder far quicker than you go up. He briefly attended Florida International University, FIU, where he was pursuing a degree in criminology, which ended abruptly due to family commitments. He returned to Jamaica and began working in the family business, LP Azar Limited. Following that, he followed his passion for criminology and began working in the security industry at Hawkeye Security. In 1999, he registered his company, KingAlarm, and in July 2000, it was operating at full swing. Have you guessed who our first guest of 2022 is? He is John Azar, founder and managing director of KingAlarm Systems. John, welcome to the show.
How are you, Mark? Thank you.
I'm great.
Honored to be here. Thank you.
It's good to have you on Business Live Extra.
Pleasure.
And it's good, you know, not all of our guests are in a full suit and tie, but it is good to see you here.
I give some importance to the occasion, so I'm happy to be here.
You know, John, you're a quiet entrepreneur, and you've really excelled in your field, and you've done it quietly, but very passionately, very professionally. You know, what does John Azar embody when you look at your body of work at KingAlarm?
I think that KingAlarm is certainly a high-stress environment. I'd say that, to put it mildly, but it's a passion of mine, and I think that I have a passion for customer service, and hopefully I lead our team by example in that regard. So we're constantly trying to go above and beyond in not only meeting our clients' needs, but exceeding them. And I'd like to think that probably, obviously in addition to other things, but that more than anything else has probably been the secret to our success. So
the KingAlarm logo has blue in it. You know, you're wearing a blue suit today. You love the Dallas Cowboys.
Not by accident.
You love sports. So is blue your favorite color?
Yeah, you could say so. Say so.
And tell us about KingAlarm, you know, the logo, the brand, and even the name. How did it evolve? How did you come up with the name and the branding of KingAlarm?
How the name came about isn't all that sexy, I'll be honest with you. It was in 1999, I was going between what name would work, and you know, I was consulting with family, with my dad, with my wife, and it was kind of just like when we couldn't decide, I just grabbed at that and said, come, we're going to run with this one.
Okay.
And thank God, no regrets.
And in hindsight, did it really evolve as a family business, or was it just your entrepreneurial journey kind of alone?
I think I've always had an interest for that type of business from earlier, but I will tell you that KingAlarm would not have been born without the support of my father.
Okay.
I say that very clearly. I think in life it's important when somebody believes in you, even at a point where you may not believe in yourself. So I remember back then saying to my dad, you know, there are other big companies out there, and I don't think that we're going to be successful. I'm going to be successful going up against the big players at the time. And I'll never forget, he said to me, I'll back you in a business of your choosing. Okay. But I think that more important to me than the financial support, let's say, was his belief in me, because at no point did he doubt that going into it that I would have been successful. Yeah.
And what made you choose, I mean, was it your experience, you know, in different security companies or so, or what made you choose this field to take the full plunge into in entrepreneurism, and what made you passionate about security? Was it because you did study criminology, or what made you passionate about this field? Because
my studies were not long, as you said earlier, based on my dad had actually gotten sick at the time, so I returned to the family business with the intention of going back, but that sometimes doesn't quite work out. So I would say that I always had a love for that particular business. I do remember when I went for my interview at Hawkeye at the time, which was probably about 94 maybe. And in that interview, I was asked, why am I here kind of thing. And I remember very clearly, I said at the time, because one day I want to have a business exactly like yours.
Okay.
So I was very upfront with it.
Yes.
And then so said, so done. So, I think that it was always just something that I was passionate about. And I do believe in business. If you're doing something that you're not passionate about, the people around you feel that. Your customers feel it, your staff feel it. And on the flip side, when you're really passionate and you believe in what you're doing and it means a lot to you, I think that those around you feed off of that energy as well.
And looking back though, John, so many persons go on to study, I guess, finance or engineering, accounting, legal. Was it something like, I don't know, was it like comic books or was it like the movies that you were enjoying? I mean, because criminology, I mean, you don't even hear the word today much when you read the newspaper or even watching business news or anything. But what led you to that specifically? Even if it was a couple of years
it's an interesting question,
before you came back.
I don't think I've ever been asked that. That's an interesting question. I don't know. Just growing up, I used to enjoy playing cops and robbers. I like helping people. So I don't know. It's just something that I always felt was something that I was destined to be in. So I'm very happy that I followed that path and it morphed into what KingAlarm is today. And
today, do you feel it has helped John Azar today, or are you more of a businessman today, or is that what gave you a bit of the foundation?
I think it's helped me for sure. And I think that when you go into a business with the sole aim of making money, I don't think that's really the recipe for success. I think that when you go into a business probably with the aim of serving your customers, truly taking that customer service experience at a different level, that hopefully the byproduct of that passion and that service is making money. Excellent. So making money was never, I'd say, the goal of the business. The goal of the business was just what we do day in and day out, which I'm very proud of, I'm very passionate about, and because I genuinely believe in the brand and the product, that's when things go wrong, as maybe they do in life. I don't like it, because I'm a firm believer. I know what we have in place. I know what we're delivering day in and day out. So whenever we fall below that standard, I'd say I take it personally, and sometimes maybe even too personally.
Do you find you've been known, John, or there's been stories about you that, especially when you started and in the early years, and you probably still do it, especially like the electronic systems or those pads, that you're very hands-on CEO, that you'd actually go and install them yourselves and you'd go out there with the technicians. What did that teach you about the business? And you've been known for, or persons have even said to me, and it's been known in the industry, that you pride yourself on customer service.
I think that knowing your business from the bottom up is critical. That way it's very difficult for people to mislead you, let's say, or tell you something that you haven't experienced. So I remember, obviously, when KingAlarm started, there was no managers. I mean, as a sales manager, the technical manager, the operations manager, the accounts manager, I was the management team, so to speak. But yeah, I'd like to think that I'm still as hands-on, and maybe I'm trying to curb my natural instinct now to have an excellent team around me, supporting me in what I do. So, KingAlarm is like my first child. So when you're that...
It's your baby.
It's your baby.
It still is your baby.
So when you see a baby grow up, you have a tendency maybe to be a little bit too possessive, a little bit too controlling in a good sense. So I'm trying to curb my natural instinct. Now, I'll give you a quick story. I'm copied in quite a few email groups when it comes in. So I met with my...
Are you in like every email group of the company? There's some CEOs who like that.
I'm in too many, but I'm trying to wean myself off. I process maybe 800 to 1,000 emails a day.
Whoa. Do you do WhatsApp groups as well, or just email groups?
I think that every security WhatsApp group in Kingston, Portmore, Spanish Town, I think I'm in.
Okay.
I mean, I wouldn't start listing which ones, because it's probably all of them. So my email traffic is heavy. But I remember I was meeting with our customer service team, maybe about 15 people, and I said, what's going on with you guys? When these things come in, I'm copied. Why am I the first person responding? Why? And I wasn't really pleased. So one of them kind of meekly said, but sir, you're responding like within a minute, meaning you're not giving us time to respond. So in that sense, I think I'm trying to wean myself off a bit because I know my natural instinct is to get involved. But as I said, thankfully I have a great team around me, so I'm trying to curb that. The pace I'm at, I can't keep going at forever, so I'm trying to gradually come
And so in those early years, like when you just started, you know, around that timeline you mentioned, I mean, how many staff got this thing started? You know, well,
when
you got it going, in those.
When we started, was one staff member in our office, maybe.
Just you and one other person?
10 by 20. At that point, we're only doing installation. We started out only installing gate openers. So I had some technicians on contract. And then in July 2000 is when we launched the monitoring and response service.
Okay.
So that was our first.
So it was really just you, another team member, and some inventory.
Literally.
Maybe a van, something like that.
Literally.
That's it.
Literally.
Great. We're going to come back to that point. Sounds great, John. We take our first break on Business Live Extra. More when we return. Welcome back to Business Live Extra. KingAlarm Systems began operations in July 2000. In a relatively short time, they became the largest electronic security company, not just in Jamaica, but in the entire Caribbean. KingAlarm provides 24-hour monitoring and armed response services at over 12,000 locations across Jamaica and provide vehicle tracking services in over 15,000 vehicles. The company employs a highly skilled guard force of approximately 3,000 officers and provides security guarding services at hundreds of locations. Some of these include hotels, schools, universities, hospitals, government offices, and a host of commercial residential premises. We are back with John Azar, founder and managing director of KingAlarm. John, welcome back.
Thank you, Mark.
It's good to have you on BLE, Business Live Extra.
Well, you're going to get me in a problem, which I'll tell you quickly.
Yes.
Okay, those who know me closest know that public speaking is something I hate, to the point that I didn't speak at my own wedding.
Okay.
So whenever I do anything like this, I know I hear it from my wife, like religiously. How come you didn't speak at our wedding, but you're up there speaking otherwise? So,
well, you're doing great so far, and it's only going to get better and better.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And it's a good question. Any of the kids in the businesses yet, or planning to be in the business, or any summer internships?
Yeah, my eldest son, Johnny, is a business mind through and through. I mean, all of them. I discuss things with my kids. You know, my eldest is now 19, Daniel is 16, Samantha is 15, and Jessica is 13. And my kids are my life, and I'm blessed to have them. I'm blessed to have a supportive and caring wife, because as you can imagine with KingAlarm, sometimes hours are a little bit long and
striking that balance.
Extreme. So that balance is important, and hopefully, as much as I dedicate to KingAlarm, hopefully I strike a good balance in terms of prioritizing my family as well.
And how do you feel about, you know, your growth has been incredible, and just talking about the number of security guards, your vehicle tracking devices, and everything you're doing, the different revenue segments of the company. How do you feel about your management team now? You know, a lot of the family businesses don't focus on that in their early years, but how do you feel about your business continuity and your management team, where you're at today and maybe where you want to be?
I think, as I said, I'm blessed now, maybe over the past 5 years, to have an excellent team in place. We boast that we have probably the most experienced management team in the industry. We have very solid people in all areas. So operations, technically, administratively. I mean, I feel very good about where we are in that regard. And again, I'd like to hope that my team feeds off of my energy and my passion. I mean, I think socially, I'm far, far nicer person than I am maybe as a boss, quote unquote. It's not that I'm not nice, but as I said earlier, I take what we do very seriously. And the truth is, Mark, in our business, unlike certain others, there's really no margin for error. So I tell my staff regularly, I say, There's no margin for error in what we do. Errors in our business, God forbid, can cost lives in the extreme. So I take things seriously, and I mean, I tell people when I'm interviewing them straight up, listen, you're coming into a high-stress environment. It just is what it is. There are certain industries that, by definition, are higher stress than others, and what we're in is certainly one of those, the security industry.
And how do you, when I picture or envision KingAlarm or what I know about them, you jump and you think about the security guards or the guards, but what are the revenue streams now really of KingAlarm, and how do you really give that elevator pitch, or how do you describe the products and services of KingAlarm to the market?
All right, I'm going to sum it up very simply. We started out as an electronic security company.
It started out electronic, not security guards?
No, not at all.
Okay.
For the first maybe 10, 11 years. So electronic security with the monitoring and armed response service. So the monitoring of the alarm systems with the response teams. We then added the guarding service maybe about 10 years ago. And you'll find it's interesting, although we have over 3,000 guards, now we've never advertised that service. There's no ad anywhere you'll find that says KingAlarm does guarding services.
Right.
So, but where I'd say I'd sum up KingAlarm now, I think we are a true security partner, that literally anything in the security industry, any security product that's available in the first world markets, I'm proud to say that we offer. So,
and is that kind of one of the pitches, or call it services, where you try to say to the client, whoever they are, hospitality, commercial, that we're really a one-stop shop, and give us more of your business, and that can be good for privacy and discreetness as well.
It is, but it's even more than just give us more of your business. It sounds very cliche, but I tell clients straight up, listen, I don't want to be a guard company. I don't want to be an alarm company. I'm not being disrespectful when I say that. I want to be a security partner. I want, if you have a security issue, doesn't matter what it is.
So security partner is really
whatever it is,
your message.
Anything there. I mean, there's certain things obviously I can't disclose to you, but we get some calls that are strange and varied, let's say, but anything in the security industry.
Are you doing cash services as well, or are you not in that segment of the market?
There's anything we do. We do cash in transit, we do investigations, we do covert surveillance, we do polygraph testing, we do investigations. I mean, our main revenue streams, to come back to what you asked me, I'd say we're well split. Our three biggest revenue streams would be the monitoring and response service, so that's the alarm services, the guarding services, and the vehicle tracking. I'd say those three are our biggest revenue streams. But then maybe another 15% of our total revenue is made up by a host of other services that are in there. So we do close protection service for visiting delegations. I mean it sincerely when I say it to you. Anything in security, if somebody calls, we'll handle it.
KingAlarm can look at it.
Thank God, yes.
So you've pivoted into different products over different timelines, but it's really the electronic, call it pads or electronic, that's what gave you the cash flow.
Yeah, for sure.
Years.
In terms of the recurring revenue.
And the core business.
Without a doubt.
And during the period, John, has it all been internally financed, or do you find yourself bringing on kind of financial partners, whether it's banking partners or, we see a lot of players now bringing in investment banks into their businesses. Have you done it all just yourself or family, or have you brought on kind of investment banks over the years, even if it's, if you could disclose, or if it's been done privately?
In that sense, I'd say that the company has been blessed and I've been blessed. And I'll tell you why I say that. When we looked at our break-even point with the monitoring and response service, I remember very clear, our break-even was about 700 clients. Because you have to remember, when you have one customer, you still have a monitoring center round the clock. You still have a response team. We had one team at a time, round the clock. You have technicians. So our break-even was about 700 clients. And I was expecting or hoping to get there maybe within 18 months, 24 months.
And this is 700 monitoring clients?
Monitoring clients.
Okay.
We got there within like maybe under 3 months.
Wow. Okay.
So I was very fortunate, again, when I say with my dad, in terms of initial financing. And then thankfully, maybe after 12, 18 months tops, we've been standing on our own 2 feet. So in answer to your question, no, there's never been any external
How many kind of, you see them around Kingston? I mean, are you island-wide as well in terms of these kind of distribution points, or call them, arm monitor kind of deployment places?
All right, so now we have the largest response network. So right now, in Kingston, Spanish Town, Portmore, we'll have at least 30 response teams round the clock, day and night. Out of Montego Bay, which covers Falmouth, Montego Bay, and the environs, we have additional response teams. So if you were to say to me, what's a weakness of KingAlarm, I would say to you, our geographic spread across the island needs to be widened.
Okay.
So other areas we need to get our response teams into, which we will be doing this year. But so we do offer island-wide service with installations, with CCTV, etc. But our monitoring and response service, which is our core, we need to get into other areas, Mandeville, Maypen, Ocherias, which, as I said, this year, God's willing, those are all on stream. It should have happened. COVID slowed down those plans a bit. But yeah, our presence is strong, and that gives us a big advantage. So let's say at a client premises we have a problem. I can easily move 3-4 teams onto a site without disrupting anything in our general operation, and it's great. So I had an incident a couple weeks ago with a major fire at a client's location. We may have moved 6 or 8 teams down there.
Okay.
Management, etc., and the rest of our operation was fine. I'm not a gambling person by nature.
Yes.
So we cover, in this business, you really can't cover all the bases.
Right.
But we certainly cover all the bases.
And you have to go where your returns are. I mean, it is a business.
Well, yes and no, but maybe that's a personal weakness of mine. Sometimes I'll find myself going maybe against the returns to the benefit of the client, just to meet that service.
Your ethos of customer service.
Yeah, without a doubt.
And what's your exact target market? In other words, do you find, I mean, as Jamaicans, we are aspirational. We want the best for ourselves and our family. But do you find, let's say, somebody who's buying a Gore home, a Chemtech home, as they call it, affordable homes, but they're getting nicer and nicer, the price points are moving up. Do you find that that marketplace are installing your products? Is it widespread? Is it island-wide, or is there a specific demographic that takes a KingAlarm product?
But one of the things that I'm most proud of with KingAlarm, before we came into the market, whether coincidentally or not, but probably wasn't coincidentally, electronic security at the time was thought to have been reserved for the chosen few. Our price points were aggressive.
That's what it used to be looked at.
That's how it was.
Yeah.
Right now, I'd say our clientele is
everybody varied. Wants to protect their contents and their home.
And truthfully, we will custom design a system to meet somebody's budget.
So that's something you and KingAlarm have brought to the market over 20 years.
Without a doubt. So if you look at our clientele now, I'd say to you that anybody in any of the locations you've mentioned or otherwise who wants to protect themselves, God's willing, we'll be able to design something around their budget to suit their needs. So that's something that I'm very proud of, in that I believe.
So I could be getting my first home with my family, etc., wherever I am, Old Harbour, anywhere, I could be calling KingAlarm and installing it.
Yeah, well, I'd say, Mark, one of the things with me, I don't like blowing my trumpet or KingAlarms. I'd rather other people do it. But if I were to put that aside for a second, I'm proud of the fact that I genuinely believe that KingAlarm was instrumental in making
getting that mindset
security like that affordable for a far wider cross-section of Jamaicans, and I'm proud of that.
Great here. We're going to come back to that point. We take another break on Business Live Extra. More when we return. Welcome back to Business Live Extra. KingAlarm boasts one of the most experienced management teams in the industry with over 200 combined years of knowledge and expertise. KingAlarm operates its own 24-hour state-of-the-art command center, which is manned around the clock by at least 12 specialist central station operators. KingAlarm proudly claims to have one of the best response team client ratios in the industry. Still with us to tell us more is John Azar, founder and managing director of KingAlarm. John, welcome back.
Yeah. Thanks, Mark.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And touching on that point, one of the beautiful things about that electronic business is you're providing safety, but it really kicks off monthly cash flow as well.
It does, for sure.
And got you going and got you started.
Without a doubt.
Do you find that with your brand, because you're a private company, financial houses, banks are, knocking at your door all the time to, like, say, go public, or we want to securitize your cash flow, or coming up with lots of creative structures for you and KingAlarm?
Yeah, I would say we've been approached for sure. I mean, I wouldn't say regularly, but regularly enough, yes. So, and going public is something that has been brought to me a few times, something we've considered, but we'll see. I mean, we're always looking for opportunities. Before making any such decision, though, I'd have to consult with ItsMoneyMark to see if that's something that would suit us long term, but we're always looking to see where the opportunities lie.
So you really haven't closed the door on it, but it's not something on the agenda in the short term?
No, certainly not on the agenda,
like
but I mean, I wouldn't say it's something that may never happen.
Yeah. And is KingAlarm in any other island right now? Are you regional, or the focus is Jamaica?
Focus is Jamaica. I mean, we do monitoring here for alarm systems in the region with certain of the other providers in the islands, but our regional presence isn't yet, and one of the things with that is, thankfully, our growth month on month today is the same as it's been 20 years ago. So we're still growing. I mean, some people talk of the market is saturated. We're still growing. I think that we're getting a bigger piece of the pie, thank God, and I do think I'd attribute that again to our pricing structure and primarily to our service. I mean, I don't want to stress it too much, Mark, but really, I think that term customer service, people talk out it loosely. I genuinely try and have our team serving our clients, and hopefully, at the end of the day, our clients feel that passion.
And to that point, John, do you view it that you're taking market share, or do you think the market is actually growing?
I think it's a little of both. Certainly, we're taking market share, I mean, without a doubt there. And that's not because we're aggressively going after market share. I just think that the brand is strong, thank God. And when people may have an issue with their existing provider and looking elsewhere, thankfully KingAlarm is one of the places they may look. So I think it's a little of both. Certainly the market is not contracting, but I think that our growth is due partly to the market expansion and partly to our gaining more market share, without a doubt.
Yeah. And do you think actually you've really grown the business on service, and you mentioned that, and personally you're hands-on, but the brand really, and you've done it across the different products. Let's say you have King Tracker, which is the vehicles,
tracking side,
and the brand is KingAlarm, and you have a few other things hopefully coming out. But your personal brand is synonymous with the company brand and vice versa, and it has really worked for you. I think customers will, when you look at some of your competitors, they haven't done that. So it's very unique about KingAlarm, but it has worked out very well for the company. I mean, was that your initial goal, or is it something that kind of has morphed over time?
I think I wanted to be very hands-on and seen, as you say, synonymous with KingAlarm and vice versa, but it's morphed into it maybe even more than I would have hoped. So as I mentioned to you off air, I think I am a little bit obsessive when it comes to customer service, and that can be a blessing and a curse. So it may be a blessing for our customers, I'd like to think, maybe a little bit of a curse for our competitors, and a little bit of a curse for me personally, because I say, sometimes I find myself that, I need to step back a little bit more than I do at times, not because I'm not confident in our team. I come back to the fact again that I have 5 kids. So I have Johnny, Daniel, Samantha, Jessica, but KingAlarm is my eldest. KingAlarm was born about 3 months before Johnny was. So I'm a little bit I wouldn't say possessive, but definitely passionate to the point that when things go wrong, it bothers me.
Yes.
And I don't like it.
And to this day, you know, all the letters, or call it the memos, or the communications that you generally blast out, are they still signed by you electronically, or do you still communicate on all of them, or do they go generically now?
No, I do. I do.
Okay.
And all our letters that go to clients have my email address, personal email address with it. So again,
So there's still that personal touch.
but I have to
that
explain to our
goes them.
clients, some people may wrongly feel it's KingAlarm's a one-man band. Nothing furthest from the truth there. But I just like to know, I like our clients to know, should I say, that if they're not being properly served by our team,
They can get
here.
access to you.
Yeah, that to me is very important, and I tell you why. I think one of the most important decisions you can take is your security provider, who you want to secure your family. So you're traveling, who is in charge of your wife and your loved ones? And when somebody makes that decision to entrust KingAlarm, I take it personally because I know that it's something I take pride in. So I remember one day, this is about maybe 5-6 years ago, I ended up at some client location in Stony Hill. I parked, I had to walk up a little path to get to clients. I knocked at her gate. She came out, and I don't remember her name, but let's say I said, "Excuse me, are you Mrs. Jones? I'm John Azar from KingAlarm." And she almost fainted. Said to Mr. Azar, "What are you doing here?"
Yes.
And I remember I said to her, "Well, I understand you have issued your service that you want to terminate. I couldn't get you on the phone, so I'm here to see what it's all about." So I think that stories like that, I mean, I do take it personally, but if I didn't believe in what we do and take pride in what we do, I couldn't operate in that way.
And what's talking about the one-man band, what's the staff count now like?
Our staff count is about 3,500.
So that includes the security guards, you know, your
Security
admin
guards,
team, the whole shebang.
The command center staff, the technicians, the investigators, the admin, the management team, yeah. So.
And where does that, when you think about it, where does it rack up? I mean, there's, you know, you have a few competitors. There's a hospitality industry. Are you now one of the largest employers in the country?
I don't know about that. I know we're certainly one of the largest in the security industry, without a doubt. And again, that's something that factors into the pride and the seriousness of what we do. I mean, I'd let my team know constantly the actions of one person can affect the jobs of 3,500.
Yes.
So you need to let your staff really believe in what they're doing and the trust that the customer is placing in them and by extension their co-workers. So, I mean, it's a serious industry. A lot of people may figure the security business is you put 2 guards there and that's what it is. I give an example. When a hurricane is threatening or on the horizon, people are looking at, you know, maybe getting water and whatever for their home. If I tell you what goes into a hurricane preparation. You probably wouldn't believe me. It's extensive because then again, I think that crisis gives leadership the opportunity to shine. And opportunities like that is where people will see the difference between a security company and let's say a KingAlarm. So a lot goes in on the back end, and our customers may not even be aware of a lot of it, but they're aware of the service delivery at the end of the day.
And if you can tell us, John, the 3 main things you mentioned, the security guards, electronic systems, and tracking. I mean, is it pretty balanced or diversified? I mean, what's kind of the revenue, you know, breakout like, you know, between the 3? I mean, are we talking about
very
like,
balanced.
Like 33% or so? Or?
I'd probably say maybe 30.
Okay.
And then, as I say, the rest
like
of
a kind of other
everything
segment,
else, maybe between 10 and 15%, give or take. The guarding side is the highest revenue, but it's the lowest in terms of profit margin. So if I'm providing a guard at a location, maybe 92% of what we're billing the client is going to the guard.
And is a guard service still, is it still viewed as, and I mean, that might be the perception, but is it the highest kind of insurance or the highest liability or risk segment of the company that can give you a liability? Or is that just a perception?
Diplomatically speaking, I'd say it certainly has a potential to be the most troubling.
Okay.
On the electronic security side,
It's just turnkey.
It's turnkey. We do have the response teams and monitoring center and technicians, which is maybe about 300 staff.
Okay.
So it's not quite as labor intensive. When you're dealing with 3,000 security officers, you have the potential for, let's say, certain interesting situations to arise.
Okay.
So it has a potential to be the most problematic, but thank God I'm not knocking it, but it can, if you see any gray hairs here, certainly quite a few of them would be attributed to our guarding side.
Yeah, I gotcha. And do you, on the guard side, do you typically, I know it's always debated and it's always debated in the media, but do you typically take on the liability? Do you hire them full-time, or are they independent contractors, or, you know, is the risk, in other words, KingAlarms, or does the risk really rely with the guy or the lady?
It's a mix of both.
Both.
We have a lot of staff who are full-time employees.
So it's a mix. Okay.
We have certain security guards who are considered independent contractors, but even in such instances, clients may not absolve KingAlarm fully of liability in the event of an issue. I mean, they may argue they're still operating as agents of the company.
Of KingAlarm.
So from a liability issue, I'm not so sure how much of that takes the liability off of us. That's probably more an industry-wide situation than anything else.
Gotcha.
Security guard industry in that sense is a little bit unique.
All right, we're going to come back to that. Thanks. We take another break on Business Dive Extra. More in return with John Azar, founder, managing director of KingAlarm Systems. Welcome back to Business Dive Extra as KingAlarm continues to expand their footprint across the island and elsewhere in the Caribbean. Their focus is also to continue to grow the business by emphasizing on the truly serving their clients. KingAlarm will soon launch its own fleet of ambulances under the Ambio King brand and will offer ambulance services in partnership with a team of medical doctors who will be on call 24/7 to liaise with emergency medical personnel. The aim is to revolutionize the medical emergency response industry, just as they did in the security industry approximately 20 years ago. With the great accomplishments KingAlarm has done, are there plans in store to franchise the KingAlarm brand elsewhere or to consider going public one day? We find out the future plans from the King himself, John Azar, founder and managing director of KingAlarm. John, welcome back.
Thanks, man.
I like that. I like that kind of phrase there. You know, the King himself. I like it.
Well, you had me smiling there. Thank you. Thank you.
Well, it's good. It's good to keep you buzzing and, you know, interested. So this whole, you know, ambulance play, is it a healthcare play, or is it providing persons with safe transport, or how did this whole idea come about? And, you know, whichever brand you're going to use.
All right. So 20 years ago, when KingAlarm, 21 years ago when KingAlarm started, we introduced ambulance response for all our customers. So
in partnership or a JV or?
No, with our monitored clients, all monitored customers got ambulance response free, but we were using, and still are today, third-party ambulance providers. So, and I'm not going to knock them because, thank God, I mean, I found them to be good, but to be fair, I've also found a little bit of inconsistency maybe that I don't particularly like. So, and
it reflects on your brand because you're offering it.
It does. But where I decided really to go into our own fleet of ambulances is I had an issue with my mother a couple of years ago. Thank God she was okay. I was calling for an ambulance. And as I say, I'm not knocking the existing providers because sometimes we have excellent results from them. But I remember on the night in question, I was told the closest ambulance was about 2 hours away. And I was calling all the providers we use because we didn't only use one, and that bothered me. Obviously, at that moment, I was more concerned my mom's health, but I remember that night promising that I want to get into the ambulance side ourselves. So it should have launched last year, and because of COVID, a couple permit issues were delayed a bit, but God's willing, that will be in the first quarter of this year, and it's something I'm very excited about.
Excellent. So I was going to ask that, was it an incident that caused it or something, and you spoke about your mom's health, and will it be something that you directly invest in? Will it be like a subsidiary of KingAlarm, or will it be a sister company? What do you plan for the structure to be?
Yeah, it's going to be a wholly owned subsidiary of KingAlarm. I mean, we have a team of medical doctors we've already been in dialogue with. What the aim is we're going to have our own fleet of ambulances, and 24/7 we're going to have doctors on call who can speak directly to a client. So while the ambulance is en route, a doctor can be speaking to the client to pretty much see what assessment can be done over the phone to pass that information to the ambulance. The other thing we're doing, which is kind of unique, is I mentioned earlier we have a significant number of response teams on the road. So all those response team leaders have been trained in EMT, so emergency.
For medical emergency, okay.
So what we're going to be doing is at least able to have an EMT at the location even prior to when the ambulance has reached. So we're really looking to revolutionize that
kind of some
sector.
crossover,
Yeah, without
use your
a doubt.
resources.
Without a doubt.
And with the ambulances though, you mentioned maybe different brands, whether it's going to be potentially Ambu King or
King
maybe
Rescue.
King Rescue,
Yeah, we're
whichever
between
one.
the two.
You're planning for the brand to be blue, consistent with the other brands, or it might be a different pop?
Blue with a little pop.
Okay.
Keep in suspense there, Mark.
I guess
so
you got to
can
do
bring
blue
it
and,
back
blue and
again.
red, I guess,
Yeah, exactly.
for the ambulances.
Yeah, but it's, as I say, it's something we're excited about, and I'll tell you, I'm excited about it not primarily from a business perspective. Again, I'm excited about it for what we're going to bring into the market and hopefully a service we're going to be offering. Hopefully the byproduct is going to be, it's going to be successful in its own right, but my excitement doesn't come from the revenue opportunity more so than the service opportunity.
And are there other things in store, John, that KingAlarm has like this, like other, that you can talk about that might be in your pipeline? Let's say this is healthcare, ambulances, but are there other things that, you might associate the King brand with?
Yeah, I think there is, but directly in the security industry, I'd say again that we're going to continue to offer the latest products. So we're constantly going to the electronic security shows, wherever they're being held, and constantly sourcing. So I'd like you to feel, as I mentioned earlier, if there's something that you've seen or somebody has told you about a particular high-end security product, if you call us, we're going to be able to not only provide it, but service it, install it. And that's something that we're going to continue to do. So I will tell you, the criminal element is always evolving, always. So we on the other side need to be constantly evolving as well, and I think that's important. Something I'd say, which let's not go too deeply into, but in terms of the crime fight here in Jamaica, I think one of the issues is we're fighting 21st century crime with 20th century technology and methodologies, and that's never going to end well.
And do you think, it's a question I've asked a few other guests before, though, is that do you think crime will be solved, or do you think there's energy or effort to solve crime?
I think that solving crime in Jamaica is certainly not simple. It's complex, but I tend to believe, it's a personal opinion, it's not as complex as it's made out. I think that in many instances we don't need to reinvent the wheel. There are other countries with complex crime problems with the will and the resources directed towards it. I've seen their crime numbers significantly drop. So I'm not going to simplify it, but I'm going to say that I'm not one of those doomsday people who would say, oh, crime here is unsolvable. I don't believe that at all.
And do you feel, though, we can attack the bigger picture things without solving the very small basic things? What's your kind of maybe theory or thoughts on that? When you look at like what happened in New York City and a few other things, I mean, those are books like Tipping Point and a few other things.
Correct.
I'm not saying they're criminology books at all, but do you think we can really win on the bigger picture ticket items?
I think the bigger picture items are long term, but there's certain things that need to be done and need to be done quickly. So I'll give you one example. Maybe 7, 8 years ago, all of our response teams now are equipped with body cameras, all of them. So if a team turned up at your house and you were to say, call me and say, Johnny and a team left my gate open, I'm able to go through our archives and literally see that team when they responded at your home. I can see everything they saw, everything they heard, everybody they came in contact with, everything. And to me, you know, the JCF, there's been talk about equipping the JCF with body cameras for years. It hasn't happened. And from my perspective, if you're not even equipping the entire force, there's no excuse why the special operation teams going out on operations should certainly have body cameras. And on that story, you know, initially we got a little bit of kickback from our staff, as you will whenever there's change. But I'll tell you, Mark, that right now, you can't get our response teams to go on the road without their body cameras.
Really?
Because they recognize through experience, those cameras are not just there to protect the people that they're interacting with.
It's protecting them as well.
Them. I can't tell you the amount of allegations that are made against our teams when you look back at the angles and the actual footage of when they respond on a scene is just vastly different.
Yeah. And
so technology in the fight against crime cannot be, let's say the role of technology in the fight against crime
you don't think it
cannot
can
be
be understated?
Can't be.
You think
Can't
it's
be.
it's something to be looking at more and investing in? Yeah.
Without a doubt.
And John, back to the comment on going public, right? Even if it's not on the agenda now, do you find what's happening in Jamaica's capital markets and, let's say, the financial sector, there's a lot of liquidity in Jamaica? I mean, although we don't want to mix up the two, but, you know, with NIR even at 4.7 billion US and, you know, record levels, do you find you're getting approached a lot, even if it's monthly or quarterly, to say, John, sell us 20% of this business, or why don't you go and become Minister of National Security one day, or join a council,
sit down on the beach somewhere,
and let's buy out this whole company and let's run it for you, and, you know, or keep you as a minority. Do you find you get some crazy proposals?
I think I would get some crazy proposals that would make me stop and think for sure. And that's why I said to you earlier, it's not something that's
so
on
you
the
are getting
front
some interesting proposals.
Oh yeah, without a doubt, without a doubt. But the most tempting part about that, I'll be honest with you, is what I said to you earlier. I feel at the pace at which I go, I'm constantly going, that the tempting part of that may be one day for me to step back.
But you don't want to lose your fifth. You don't want to lose your fifth child.
I don't lose my fifth child. Not yet.
Do you ever get a chance to unplug or to slow down based on getting those 800 emails a day?
Not often enough. Not often.
So so even on Saturdays, Sundays, I mean, every day you're going at 1,000,000 miles per hour.
I travel a lot, and certain people joke I'm traveling again, but honestly, I don't. The work doesn't end. It's 24/7. I mean, I may go to bed at 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock one night with 20 emails, and if something has really happened during the night, I may have gotten a couple calls, I may wake up to. So it's an interest, put it this way. Certainly, I can never get bored. In 21 years, there's never been a boring day at KingAlarm, I can tell you that.
And you're one of the few persons, you still use a BlackBerry.
You can't be announcing the secret to my success.
I mean,
Yes,
I think you still have some shares, or whether they're quoted or unquoted, in BlackBerry.
Everything, I haven't used a PC or a laptop in forever. Well, never, maybe. And I'll give you a quick joke about last week. I was in the Apple store.
Yes.
I was buying something for one of the kids, and one of the sales reps saw my BlackBerry. And oh God, you'd have thought they'd seen, I don't know what. So they summoned.
Did you think it was like a baton?
They summoned the rest of the staff around, and they're taking pictures until one of them turned to me and said, "You know, sir, you could get $1.50 for that on eBay now." So it's kind of like, I do have my iPhone though, but that's my play phone. All the work stuff certainly comes through the BlackBerry. Wouldn't trade it for anything, Mark.
And that's your customer service. You're giving those responses all day. It's good.
For sure.
Yeah. It's great having you, John. It's really, it's been a pleasure having you and learning more about the security industry.
It's been my pleasure to be here, and thank you again. I love your show.
Thank you.
I love watching it, and it's my honor to have been here. Thanks again for inviting me.
And you're our first guest in security and criminology. It's a pleasure.
Really?
Yep.
Well, I'm honored. Thanks again.
Thanks a lot, John.
Thank you very much.
That's it for another edition of Business Dive Extra. Remember, security is not only a product, but also a process. We've been talking with John Azar, founder, managing director, KingAlarm Systems. Don't forget, you can watch us online at cvm.com/videos/Business Dive Extra. Thanks for joining us.